because basically they don't exercise like peaceful means. Like they can be violent, they carry guns, illegal guns, and then in the just like this year they got disbanded, but they rebrand themselves as new organization. They call it Islamic Brotherhood Front. The leader, the chairman, is the son-in-law of the former chairman. So yeah, basically they still exist now in Indonesia. It cannot be 100% disbanded. So my conclusion, similarities, of course, both are violence. In the end, both are disbanded, and then both of them try to create new organization that's similar. And the differences, I use Jürgen Meyer theory, like religious nationalism as defense mechanism. So the first one is ethnic religious nationalism. So religion is part of ethnic identity. So anybody who exerts political control over them are the enemy. This definition is suitable in Mabata, in Myanmar. So basically anybody exert control over them are the enemy. That's why they are getting along well with the military, but with Aung San Suu Kyi they don't get along very well. And the second one, the differences for the Islamic Defensive Front is ideological religious nationalism. So basically they reject secular system. Anybody secular are the enemies. In Mabata case, ethnic religious nationalism, they don't care about like secular system. They just care like don't touch us. Anybody exert power too much against us is the enemy. So that's the difference that I found out in my research. So like, well, it's my reference. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. It relates to social movement or the social groups in comparison and indicate they are similar. They have similarity and a difference. So very impressive. I think not so many people are familiar with these two religion groups. However, they have a heavy impact on the civil society in Indonesia and Myanmar. And the third is will be printed by the Miss Chitifa, and his title is the 21st Century of the LGBT plus right in Taiwan and Thailand. He also is the comparativeness. Yeah, but welcome.
Good morning to all Academy of all ages. I don't really want to title myself as Miss or any female or male. We are here to see the diversity, especially in gender. So good afternoon almost, yeah. My name is Chitipat Santon Saratun. I know it's quite long, but I'm the PhD student from ICSEAS, or from National Chungcheong University. I'm also the lecturer in Srinakarin Viron University in Thailand. So, but here I am Chitipat to presenting the topics about the 21st century of LGBTQ rights in Thailand and Taiwan as a comparative study of social movements there. So I will outline my slide. It will come first with the introductions. So Thailand and Taiwan, everyone will ask why, well, which is Thailand and Taiwan. Thailand and Taiwan are the countries that have been known as the LGBTQ, sometimes I call gay-friendly destinations. economically and legally. So is it the destination for like equal marriages, the public expression for all genders? So export to particular traditions from the strong Chinese influences, both countries. Well, but the strong point is these two countries have different experiences from colonized society experience. So the nation experience have been in different way. So homosexuality is against the Chinese tradition and is considered evil by Chinese, by Professor Shou 2014. So this is how the situation of LGBTQ status in Taiwan before that. Well, but the new generation, the concerns of new generation of population productions, it's made LGBTQ people being overlooked by the state and also by the structures of society because of the limited public expressions that's not falling into the heteronormativity. Well, so when does the social movement and the civil society organization forming itself to demanding for the equalities, for gender equity? So it starts in Worldwide West Side. It starts from 1969 as the most modern gay liberal and asking for demanding the gay rights movement. But in Asia, in Taiwan, it's starting at 1980s. Well, so here's my research questions. The research question is, what are the similarities between two countries' movement? What are the differences of the external and also internal factors that make a difference between two countries' movement? And what the impacts of the movement, and to what extent this impact made or developed the roles of civil society and social movement. Well, I took this picture myself when I was in the protest, the gender movement in Thailand, in Bangkok. You can see, like, in Thailand, I will show you in the finding that how people really protest and demanding for gender equities. Well, so I adopt two theories to this research. The first one is new social movement theory, to focus mainly about the platform for collective action in civil society or in cultural domain. So why is new? Why not just the social movement theory? It's new because it's cross classes, since it's not only the LGBTQ demanding for their right, but also you guys as the alliance, me as the alliance, middle class as the cross classes people become demander and become in a social movement, joining the protest in the state. Well, the second theory I adopt, it's queer theory, with the very fundamental belief of this theory is there is no set of normal. Heteronormative is no set of normal. It's just the changing norm that people may fit or not fit into. So my discussion following the research question. So the similarity in Taiwan LGBTQ plus movement in Thailand and also in Taiwan, these two countries. First of all, it's demanding for the acceptance of LGBTQ plus people. So why is demanding for acceptance? Because it's limited. It has been limited for the religious belief, for the heteronormative social norm of people, and for particular belief. I would raise, for example, Confucianism that have the very strong gender role, what males do, what females do, and give the importance to the family orders. This is the blur line for other genders. Well, so apart from the demanding for acceptance, it's these movements demanding for Equal Marriage Act, which Taiwan have been successful in this. It's demand it demands for gender equality and sex education to get rid of the bias and prejudice towards the genders. There's no more gay connecting with the HIV order. There is no more gay connecting with the mentality or mental disorder. And these kinds of movements consisted with the urban middle class. That's why we calling the cross classes movement. And what these kinds of movement do is reconstruct the heteronormative form, is disrupt the heteronormative form to allow non-binary, not male, not female. I'm born in male part, with the body, with the penis, sorry to say that. If I don't want to be male, and I neither don't want to be a female, what space I have to fall with? So this is the decolonize of the heteronormative norm, we call homonormative or gender diversity. So it's the place for gender diversity to exit. So the second discussions, what is the difference? So it's been divided into external and internal. So the external is for nation branding. Taiwan's movement successfully in gender equity in the legal aspect. Because Taiwan wants to promote the nation branding politically, Taiwan is the modern self-rule democratic who care the human rights, who care about their people. According to Cambrian 2020s and Jackson 1999. But Thailand, as the nation branding, Thailand really been popular in the economic aspect of tourism. So we promote this as the gay destination attractions. We promote tourism on this. Well, it's political tools. So this is the external factors that left-wing party, political party adopted, holds it as the policies. It's like the connection that give and returns. So it give and takes. People propose that political party adopt that as the policies. So people will get the more hope on the legal aspect, while left-wing political party get the vote. Well, the internal factor that makes it different is because Thailand is falling down to the hybrid regimes and reluctance in democracy. So the gender movement is following democratic demandings too. You can see in the pictures, because I took it myself in another protest too. You can see the closer is a pride flag. Everyone knows about that. It's a symbol. But the green one, the further, it's the demanding for democratic movement who wants to get rid of minister that being not transparency enough in their works. So it's in the same event. We do it in the same place, in the same date, in the belief that the gender diversity and democratic should go together because democracy allows the diversity to exist. Well, in Taiwan, as the modern self-rule democratic country, Taiwan did not fall to democratic demanding together with the movement of gender. What social movement and the impact? So we comes to the my last research question. So the impact of that. Social movement helps increase better understanding with various ways. Offline street protests, art protesting, offline also online on Twitter, campaigns online, encouraging to legalize of the LGBT Marriage Act. It leads to demanding illegal level because Thailand is just in practical level. Well, so its impact to almost every aspect, political aspect, to economic aspect as a friendly destination, social aspect, and also legal aspect, which Taiwan has passed it successfully since 2019. Well, but the reluctant, this is so interesting because Taiwan passed the legal level, but also in practical level, Taiwan conservative movement who raised the encouragement toward the LGBTQ the same-sex marriage is still exist. While in Thailand, the level, according to UN report, is in the level of tolerant, not fully accepted. But the legal level still fall behind Taiwan. So on June 2022, Thai Parliament just passed the first step with the 210 and 180 vote to accept the marriage equality bill in the first reading. Well, so to conclude, the successful social movement are form of active role of the civil society and social movement. It help positively increase the better understanding of people in the society. Negatively engagement, it got brutality by the police or by the state. So aspect in common, Taiwan and Thailand society began accepted more LGBTQ people as well as promote this as the nation branding, as the international stage in the international world, and to make economic profit. The successful of Taiwan LGBTQ movement in legal aspect can be a role model to other countries in Southeast Asia or in Asia, because it is partly from the branding of the international stage. While in Thai Parliament that never been colonized, stay in particularly and strong religious belief, needs to change or adapt a little bit to the 21st century movement, sorry. So yeah, so for me, it's the, thank you, it's the suggestion for solution. So what is the positive impact? It's make better understanding among people. The negative engagement is from the state, from the state brutality. So how about the collaborative works? How about the changing norm under the social structure? We fit into the queer theory, accept the diversity, and the state work more on that to raise it up from the practical level of tolerance to acceptance, from the acceptance level to the legal passing acts, to make the society equally and more diverse. Because I believe diverse is beautiful, and that's bring me to the end of presentation. This is a list of my references, and I'm really happy to discuss more in detail. Thank you.
So the panelists and the consultant, please have a seat in front of the screen. Thank you for the three young generation scholars and their wonderful papers, very insightful. And in this time, we invite our first discussion, Rocky, to have the comments on the second papers, and me on the first and the third papers. Okay.
So, good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Dr. Leno, also Wenzao University, for inviting me to be a discussion here, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here attending the conference, all the way through from Australia here to Kaohsiung, not to Taipei. So it's a great honor, and I'm very pleasure to be the discussion for paper presented by Aswin Agustinus Halim. So I first will have my general comments on Aswin paper. First, of course, congratulations for your presentations. It is very well-written research paper with thorough comparison between two religious organizations in Southeast Asia. We know that Indonesia is one of the largest country in Southeast Asia, and Mabata in Myanmar itself. Aswin also delved into various concepts such as identity politics and religious nationalism and civil society itself, and connect how these two variables relate to the development of each country, either democratization in Indonesia or democratic regression in Myanmar, if we can say that that is a democratic regression. And Aswin also has established a thorough context of establishment of these two organizations, as we can see from the presentation, that very thorough concept or historical background of these two organizations. However, so that's the positive comments. So now we are moving to the, not the negative comments, but some feedback and questions from myself as well to the paper itself. You mentioned about the concept of civil and uncivil society. So I think it would be good for the paper to further define civil and uncivil society, because I do not see the discussion about how do you define civil society, because there are quite lots of literature talking about civil society, and then you come up with the term uncivil society. In what basis that you call FBI and Mabata as uncivil society? What are the categories that put them into uncivil society? That would be very interesting if you could include or incorporate these two concepts into your paper. And we also suppose, okay, democracy, democratic development in Southeast Asia facilitate these two organizations to establish, like the proliferation of social movements in Southeast Asia. And then in democratic society itself, we also have to acknowledge the function of opposition in democratic society, in the government, for check and balances. And then how do you view FBI or Mabata in their roles as opposition in the democratic society, one in Indonesia and one in Myanmar? Because that's a consequence of democracy, then we will have a political opposition. If we don't have political opposition, then it's not democratic country. So we cannot just stigmatize this as a negative things, but we can also take a positive side on looking at how these two organizations, as a political opposition, give feedback to the government on how they do check and balances with the government as well. And on the context of literature, if you want to develop this paper into a journal article, then I would like to see on how your research would contribute to the existing literature on religious nationalism. Because you mentioned about religious nationalism in your literature, then if you want to develop this paper into a journal article, then how would you fit your research into the discussion of religious nationalism? Because as a researcher, we should be able to navigate ourselves, our paper, our argument, our topic into the current literature. And that's the general comments. I have 3 questions from your presentation. The first one is the political views of Mabata. How do you view the political views of Mabata in relation to the current military government? That's the first question. The second question related to the FBI. How do you view the position of FBI in the next 2024 elections? Because we know Indonesia is going to have the national election. Then how are you going to view this position of FBI? Because you also mentioned about the third questions of your paper is about the future, but I didn't really see much elaboration on the future of these two organizations in regard to the current military government in Myanmar and the future of the election of Indonesia. And the third one is more on the ethical research as well. At the beginning of your presentation, you identify yourself as a minority groups in Indonesia, okay, and how your identity, because you talk about identity politics as well, and as a researcher, how your identity as minority influence your bias and objectivity and in analyzing these two organizations and their stigmatization. Okay, so that's the 3 questions that I addressed to you. Thank you.
So we will give our presenter have some time to think about how to reply the comments. So the later I will give my personal comments on the first and the third papers, and probably including the second. First of all, the Asquen Chitafa, they did some comparative studies, right? Yeah, so they indicate these two cats compatible. Yeah, so in comparative studies, we have published two kinds of the comparison. First, the most similar model, and the second is the most different model. So you two list the similar and the difference in the two cases. So how about the outcome? Yeah, is any implications about the difference and the similar? So you are doing well in the first step to list the difference and the similar. And the second step, maybe you should indicate what's the theoretical implication or practical implication. For example, in Asquen, is any political influence or any influence in the civil society over the coming national elections, or is there any political impact on the policymaker? Yeah, and about the Chitafa's research, how about this kind of the social movement have obviously there are some kind of difference. Yeah, during the process to pursue their legal right. Yeah, so why they are so different? Yeah, he just mentioned they are different, but how they are different? How they are different? And it's different induce the different result. Okay, so how similar they are, and the similar. And is any different cases similar factors induce the similar? Yeah, so maybe I suggest that you too could think about this implication in theory and practical. And in terms of the first paper, so Ronald doing the paper is very impressive. Yeah, and he indicated four kinds of arts of the protection. Yeah, very impressive. Although I'm not familiar with this topic, but it's very interesting, especially for the social movement. Not only social movement, not only for the group, but also the individual. For example, in the mine market, people will talk about what's going on, is any information about the blah, 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 blah. Or they can show their political ideas on the war when not painting on the war. So, and this kind of the stages of just like opinion war to express their ideas to everyone. Yeah, so maybe they will induce a kind of discussion about politics, the social problem, and maybe in the next induce the other political discussion. Yeah, so that's interesting, especially mentioned later the artist. Hijack deposited symbol are very interesting. Yeah. However, even the protesting, even the artists or general people doing so impressive and doing well, maybe in the eyes of some observers, why the son of the deposit, Marcus Jr.,